Well, good day and welcome to you. It is February the 8th. I hope you're having a fabulous day wherever you happen to be. And if you're not, it's up to you to change it. You're the only one that can do it, right? Now, my name is Gary Willing, and I want to welcome everyone to Search for Signs. If you are new to this information, or even if you've heard it before, I always want to take a moment or two at the beginning of each one of these videos to perhaps remind you or even encourage you, whatever it happens to be, to check out some of the links that I provided in the description portion of this video. But more than that, to really investigate this information for yourself, educate yourself better about it. And if you do that, you might see that there might be some truth to it. You might not. It's okay. No harm, no foul. You haven't really spent any effort into, you didn't have to go anywhere, right? You just check out a few links online and, there's no truth to it, right? And then you kind of go off on your day. Or you might see that there might be some truth to it, and that kind of thing. And that's the best way to do it. These videos are really just to encourage you to investigate this information, not to take my word for it, but to look at it for yourself. Now, I did include a new link, and it goes to a podcast entitled Mystic Takeaway. Now, I interviewed my friend Alyssa, who I've known for years, who puts on these podcasts, and I think they're quite extraordinary to hear some of the things that they talk about on that channel. But one of the things that she does is she talks about this information in different ways. But one of the things I think that is really useful, especially if you're trying to, figure out what this information's about, is she talks to people that have met Maitreya, that have met one of these masters. You can hear from ordinary people about how that little interchange with, an ordinary person who ends up being Maitreya, how it changed their life. Now, I have had experiences with Maitreya. I actually have a playlist on this YouTube channel. You can go to it. It's entitled My Maitreya Experiences. You can hear about mine if you want. If you don't, no big deal. But if you go to that podcast, you can hear a bunch of, you can hear different people talking about their own experiences. Now, here's a couple things I want to talk about before I get into the video. It is, I think, very useful to look at this information and read about this information, watch videos about it and so forth like that. But it's also, I think, can be quite useful to hear ordinary people who have met Maitreya and how just that little experience changed their life. It might even trigger a memory or two of something that happened to you that you might not have been thinking about it in this way, but you might have even met Maitreya. These masters have been approaching humanity and everyday people and ordinary people for decades. And most people don't remember or even think that there is anything to it. They might just think they met an ordinary person who was quite extraordinary, but it might have end up being one of these masters. And that little experience changed their life. Might have changed your life, right? And so it's, I think, important to try to remember it if that's the case. If you have had one of those experiences, it's important to talk to it. If you are someone who has had an experience with one of these masters or Maitreya, to talk about it with people, because it does add a different dimension to this information. And so that's why I think it might be useful to go to that podcast, Mystic Takeaway. So anyway, hopefully that helps. But also, too, what I wanted to say about the Maitreya experiences and master experiences. Again, a lot of people, millions of people probably have met Maitreya and didn't realize it, is one thing. But the other thing was, and I'm saying this also from my own personal experiences, the times that I met Maitreya, he did not look like Maitreya looks in London. These masters can look however they want to look. They can be of any age, any gender, any race. They can, like I said, look however they want to look. And when somebody such as myself or Alyssa or some of the people that she interviews comes in contact with them, they have to recognize that that's Maitreya. They don't go around saying or hand you a business card like, hey, I'm Maitreya, right? Just like how he is on TV, he's not introducing himself as Maitreya. He's just being presented as an ordinary person. So the times that I saw him as a homeless person or as an elderly woman or whatever like that, never once did Maitreya say that he was Maitreya. He might have said a few things that kind of indicated that he was, and then I had to kind of use my own intuition to kind of, oh, yeah, I think that was him or whatever. But more than every single time that I've met Maitreya, that I've remembered, it's always been about what he said or his energy or his love that changed my life or gave me a greater sense of hope that I just could not get out of my mind, that really solidified in my own mind that the experience was something other than just meeting an ordinary person, but perhaps meeting Maitreya. Now, I want to kind of leave you with this when it comes to this, is if the times that I met him and other people have met him, he is just a thought form or a familiar of who he is, just a little tiny little bit of energy of who Maitreya is. And yet that little bit of energy for that little bit of time changed not only my life, but the other people who talk about their experiences with Maitreya and how it changed their life for the better, but, ongoingly for years or decades since they had those experiences. What's it going to be like when we actually see Maitreya in our own lives the way that he is, as who he is, or one of these other masters? Whether it's on TV, seeing them online, giving teachings out in that way, or the times that Maitreya will be touring all over the world and interacting with crowds and crowds of people, or perhaps even being lucky enough to meet him in your own life and interacting with him as who he is. I mean, how is that going to affect us? Well, it's going to change everything for each and every one of us to be in the presence of that type of divinity, that manifestation of that type of divinity. But yet the humbleness of it, of who he is. People always accuse, they've never seen Maitreya, they've never recognized him on TV, but they accuse him of exalting himself above God because they think he's the Antichrist. Maitreya will never exalt himself above anyone, not even the lowest, most uneducated members of our humanity. He knows the truth, that we are all a part of the same divinity. But his love that comes from his heart, the times that I've met him and seen him, it's just as a little familiar. But when we see him and interact him as he really is, and we see him on TV as he really is, that love will penetrate the hearts of all of us. Those people who stand for what he is advocating for humanity, and those people who are totally entrenched and ingrained in their own dogma that they are totally against what he says. It will change everybody. And so that's what I kind of wanted to leave you with. So, like I said, hopefully you'll check out her podcast. Now, I want to get into this, what I really wanted to talk about in this video. I wanted to read an article that Benjamin Creme's master wrote entitled The Key to the Future. Now, in every case, when I read these articles, I'm just reading it to you. It's always better for you to read it yourself. And you can do that by doing a couple things. You can either buy the book online, A Master Speaks, and you can read these articles yourself if you like to read it from a book form, or you can go online and just click on the Share International link, and to the left on these, there's a bunch of tabs, and one of the tabs says Articles by the Master. You can click on that, and you can read these articles for yourself. Now, this article, what I find incredible about this article is, if you're someone who pays close attention to the news and you see all the problems in the world, whether you live in the United States or around the world or whatever it happens to be, and you're really uncertain about the future, the immediate future, right? Or the long-term future for humanity or the world or whatever, right? And you don't know what the solution is because our so-called world leaders don't know the solutions. Well, hopefully you'll listen to this with a tad bit of an open mind, because he talks about what the one solution is to solve the problems of humanity. So that's why it's entitled The Key to the Future. What did he have to say about this? Well, it is with sadness that we watch the continuing efforts of men to solve their problems with the methods of the past. These problems are many and relate to the future as much as to the present. In the main, they are relics of the past and represent a heavy burden for the burgeoning societies of today. Lost in their fierce battles for markets, governments everywhere try all the standard ways to achieve security and strength, development and innovation, and stability in the midst of change. It is an impossible task. There is but one answer to all their troubles, one solution to all their problems, yet none so far has ventured to whisper the word which at a stroke would free them and the world, which at one stroke would launch this world into the new era of righteousness and truth. Let the word resound. Let the word demonstrate the new civilization, the new society. Let the word be heard everywhere. Let man respond. The word is the sound of righteousness. It is the sound of truth. The word brings all men together and builds the brotherhood of men. The word sits lightly on the heart, bringing happiness to all. The word is wise and generous, filled with love. The word is sharing, the key to the future. Sharing is the answer to all men's problems. Sharing is another word for divinity. Sharing initiates the highest that is possible for man, for it opens the door to trust. Sharing will take men to the feet of God. When men learn to share, they will know the meaning of life. When men share, they will feel exalted and love what they do. Sharing will make men whole. Sharing will make men one. There is no end to the concept of sharing. It will prove the salvation of men. When men see Maitreya, they will hear these words of truth. They will listen to his pronouncements with wide, open hearts, and responding, will call for the end of tyranny and injustice. They will gather around him, and he will be their spokesman. Soon, men will see his face. Soon, he will present his ideas to the world and usher out of the old age. He is near men now. He cannot be denied. His love now saturates the plains and brings change to the fore. Consider this. Without Maitreya's help, man is doomed. We earnestly await the response from men. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.